Hi guys, so today I have one of my final projects for one of my classes that just finished, and it was actually for an art history class, and we had several different options of what projects we can do, and I of course chose the art one. So what we had to do for this one is we chose an artist or a type of art that we studied in class, and we can bring that into our own style and find a way to incorporate that and learn from that artist. And it was really fun to think about that. We knew about this from the very beginning of the class. So as we were studying throughout the semester, it was interesting to look at each type of work that we were looking at and see where I could learn from it and what things I could bring into my own work. And it was really interesting, and I'm glad that I knew that that was the assignment from the beginning, because it really did get me thinking about the artwork and how I can make myself better by studying that. So it was really a very interesting class. I loved learning about art history and different pieces that have been created. So yeah, for this one, I chose to do my piece inspired by the artist Gustav Klimt. And I would definitely suggest you look up his work if you don't know what I'm talking about. His work is absolutely gorgeous, and it's really like decadent look to it, where it has a lot of gold and it's very embellished and it has a lot of details to it. And I really love that look, and I love that there are these non-representational details in it. So we'll have a lot of like squares and circles that just add this really beautiful interest to the pieces, but they're not necessarily representative of how something actually looks in the real world. So that was something that I kind of wanted to play around with and bring into my own work, was letting myself add these kind of details that weren't inherently a realistic thing or trying to represent something. So going into this piece, I knew that I wanted to treat it like an experiment, because that really was what it was, is that I was looking for ways to enhance my own work and bring different elements in that I would never normally do because I was being influenced by this artist. And like I said, those non-objective shapes that he uses a lot, that was one of the big things. But I also ended up choosing a color scheme that was very specific to Klimt, where it was this really gold, warm, rich kind of color tones to it all. And I normally would never choose yellow, especially for it to be dominating the entire piece. I much prefer cooler colors. So that was kind of an interesting thing, where it seems really simple to just make a change on the basic temperature of the piece. But I really enjoyed that, being able to break out of this mold that I've kind of been sticking myself into for a while and just trying out a really warm, glowing piece. And I really enjoyed it. So I think that I'll be incorporating more warm colors into my own pieces, or at least expanding beyond just having cool colors in the whole piece and being a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit fresher with the ways that I'm choosing my colors. So one of the next biggest experiments that I did in this one that I don't normally do is with the line work. So I mentioned this a little bit before, where I'm ready to kind of rethink how I've been doing my line art and fresh it up and find new ways to get better, because I've reached a point where I've been doing line art the same way for a long time, and I love it, and I think that's why I've been doing it so long, is I felt like I'd reached the pinnacle of how I wanted to create line work, and then I stopped changing it or experimenting with it and trying to get better with it. And that's really kind of boring. I've realized that I want to get better at that, and I want to push it past where it's at now, and I shouldn't be satisfied with what it is now, because I know that I can make it better. So I'm working on that. But for this one, I actually decided that I was gonna leave it at the sketch phase, kind of, where I have this pencil brush. So what I did was I just refined the sketch so that it was a lot more of clean line work, but it was still really soft and it had a lot more flow to it. And it was a good kind of change to the way that I usually do line work, where it's very typical. I have the same method every time I do it, and it has the same look where it's really harsh and hard. So it was good to break out of that and try a different line work style that fit this particular type of piece better. So I think that that's good, to be able to have different ways of creating line work rather than just one that may not fit every piece perfectly. So I think that that was really successful and good. At least it was successful by way of it got me thinking of different ways to be conscious about my line work. And I loved working this way, where I had an inspiration that was an artist, so I could really study their work and see what elements made it their work and their signature. And it was really very fun to delve in there and really study it out and see, okay, what choices am I making in my own work that makes it my work, and why am I making those choices, and how can I bring in these design elements from Klimt, and how can I bring that into my own work and incorporate those two together. And it just got me thinking a lot more creatively about my own work. Instead of just doing everything the same way that I always do, I was thinking, well, how would Klimt do that? Or how would this element fit into the way that I would have normally done this step? And it really brought a new life and light to this piece, I think. And it made it a lot more interesting for me to work on it. So I really do think that I'd like to do this in the future, where I take an artist and study them and then create a piece inspired by them and kind of marry our two styles together and see what I can learn from that and how I can benefit. And that is pretty much it for this piece. I will say really quick that now that this semester is over and finals are done, I'll be able to finish up those tutorials that I've been slowly working on, so you'll see some of those pretty soon, and I'm pretty excited about that actually. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you can catch all my future art videos, and until then, I'll see you at my next one.